Now, it's tricky these days to find a belt knife that can be scored for under $100, that can perform well, but also has a personality that isn't just straight bland as can be, and actually has some character to it and be able to check all those boxes. Usually you have to pay well over $100. Well, we're gonna find out today if the blade you guys have been asking me to review for months now checks those boxes. This is the KIZER URSA Major in AEBL. Well, I've had several months now to really thump on it, and there are some really unique tool applications, obviously design features. I mean, it definitely looks cool, but just because it looks cool doesn't mean it's any good. And some attributes that are awesome, some that leave me maybe scratching my head a little bit, and everywhere in between. So in today's video, I'm gonna be unpacking with you what the capabilities and limitations of this blade are, if the AEBL version is the right model, or possibly the D2 or the Nitro V, to see if this blade is good enough to guide your outdoor adventures when you're on a budget, or if it's better to go with something else completely different. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I'm Aaron. This is Gideonstactical. Let's dive in and talk some blades. Now, it's super funny because in the spring when KIZER sent me this model, they also sent one other version of this. And my dad was over, who's not a knife guy. It's funny that his son does knife reviews here on YouTube. But, you know, he has like a Spyderco Delica, Swiss Army knife, and a Leatherman. That's about all he's got. He saw this and he started messing around with it. And he's like, Aaron, I think I want this. Like, will you give this to me? I was like, yeah, Dad, use that one and I'll, you know, test this one. Which is definitely saying something because the profile is quite striking. It very much stands out from the crowd, especially at the, you can find them for as low as like 60 to about 80, and it depends on the steel, which I'm going to get to, and things like that. So between $60 and $80 is pretty wild. I'll have links to my Amazon store on like Blade HQ, Knife Center, places like that. There are lots of different variants too, so you can kind of dig into that if at any point in time you want to. Those are in the description box below. Appreciate it when you do so. Now, what we're seeing here is a 4.5-inch overall blade length, 5/32 of an inch thick, half-high saber grind. Like, before we even talk about steel, those are dimensions that I look for in a belt knife. Great for companion tasks to run in tandem with a folding saw, a hatchet, or a large machete. And this is going to do your smaller, finer work, and then those are going to do like your heavy, hard wood processing. Add to that we have a really nice long fuller right there and a swedge that gives it some good style, but also piercing capability. The tip is nice and strong, easily able to handle our 2x4, you know, stab test. But the swedge doesn't go all the way, so it's got a nice flat top all the way to the tip, meaning that you can rest your thumb in areas that you may not always be able to do with a lot of other clip point, buoy style blades. So that adds to a little bit of the versatility with still giving you that aggressive style, but also aggressive performance and piercing. Now, add to that it has a 90-degree spine, so you can scrape but also throw sparks easily. It is a freaking flamethrower, so it's going to help you with that aspect as well. I'm not sure if there are any coated versions. The D2 steel version might be coated. This one is obviously uncoated. You don't need that for AEBL because it is a stainless steel. Now, as I began to use the blade, AEBL, I believe they're doing a 58 to 59. Yeah, 58 to 59. So that's high for, and I found that KIZER is doing that quite a bit with a lot of their steels. It's kind of taking it up a notch to see. So I obviously wanted to thump on it. The higher the HRC, that means theoretically the better edge retention and wear resistance, but potentially, you know, brittles the blade. All hard abuse, this thing, no problem, because AEBL is a very tough steel. Now, it's not going to win any awards, even at this edge or even at this HRC, for edge retention. The D2 and the Nitro V will, in my opinion, hold their edges longer. So that's where you need to kind of balance. If you want arguably probably the best edge retention, D2, I would argue it's probably the least tough of the three. AEBL will be the toughest of the three, in my opinion. And then the kind of walking the fine line between them is the Nitro V in the middle. So that's kind of what you, when you're thinking about these steels, consider that. But for especially a sub-$100 knife, it was definitely holding its edge, doing all the carving, you know, doing everything that I wanted. And I was very pleased with that performance for this size of a knife. And it's very crossover capable. You know, it's not just a bushcraft knife. You can do woods work. You know, it's not just a food prep knife. You can definitely do that. You know, but you could run it as a get home bag on a battle belt, you know, those type of things because of the blade shape and profile. And we'll talk about ergonomics and how that plays in a minute. Now, one thing I want to touch on has to do with sharpening, because by the time I was done working with it, I could notice a little bit of its bite was starting to wear off. This is what I watched a video a long time ago about AEBL, and some custom workers here in the United States doing like, you know, custom work on their knives said that leaving a toothy, unpolished edge on AEBL actually works the best and will hold its edge longer, air quotes. It won't dull as fast versus if you like high polish it on ceramic and then strop it. So I busted out my Work Sharp Guided Field Sharpener Elite, and I went with the coarser stones. Now, shout out to those guys. They're a great sponsor here at the channel. I bought my very first Work Sharp, I don't know, over a decade ago. Those have resharpened hundreds of knives, and recently they were like, hey, you want to check out this new Elite version with 2 extra diamonds plates for extra honing capability? And I was like, let's do it 100%. So like 2-3 minutes, you know, just working it, but I purposely did not run it on the ceramic or on the strop. And this thing bites even better since I did that. I left it a little bit toothy with the AEBL. So if you own AEBL knives, try leaving it a little toothy and see what happens. I think you might see some really good performance. Now, I have to say, this is probably one of the best executed Kydex sheaths I have seen in quite a while. I have American-made fixed blades that cannot compete with this, and people need to take note, because I want to see more like this and less big, giant, kind of bulky, you know, sheaths. So here's what they're doing. We got a taco design Kydex, which I always look for because it makes the footprint smaller, it's slimmer, so it's easier to carry in different locations, and it cuts down on weight. And I hike a lot and I backpack a lot. So when I'm counting every single ounce, if I can cut 3 ounces off of my fixed blade, I'm more likely to carry it. So you add to the fact that this thing is silent. It ain't coming out, it ain't going nowhere. Like, what is happening here? There is no rattle, there is no slap, has a huge thumb ramp that is excellently executed, and when I pull out, the blade is right there in my hand, ready to be used. I'm not dragging Kydex and dulling the blade. I mean, it snaps in with authority. So well done. So now to the handle, and especially we got to look at that 1/4-inch hexagonal bit holder right there here in a moment. Now, I was a little on the fence when I first got it with how the handle scale sweeps past the jimping point, and we have 1, 2 jimping points, none on the bottom, only on the top. I think that's good. And it's very light, you know, like they're very shallow, they're broad, so you don't feel it. It doesn't hurt, but it gives you a little something to grab onto. But thankfully, I don't even really notice it back there on the back webbing, but that's how it comes in contact with your hand. Now, these are G10 handles. There are a couple of different color combinations. I think that's the only material they're currently using, but they did do a really good job ribbing, giving good shoulders. Now, it is a little bit on the narrow side, so if you have really like monstrous claws, the length is there, but you might find that you're wishing for a little bit meatier thickness. Now, if you have, I would say, small, medium, and large hands, it's totally fine. I never noticed a hot spot or was like, oh, I wish this was thicker. Now, they give you on the back here 3 lanyard holes, technically. So you have a top, a bottom, and then you have a hexagonal 1/4-inch right here for mainly like a pallet bit. So you can easily slide a pallet bit through there. Definitely keep the Kydex sheath on when you use it as like your handle, but then you can crank a hole and you can do very precise, you know, bushcraft style tasks. If you were, you know, an apocalypse situation and you needed to use this for different bit driving applications, it does allow for a lot of versatility. And I think it's not, I mean, it's kind of unique. Do I need it? Have I ever found in all my years of testing blades where I was like, I'm going to do a hexagonal whatever? No, I haven't been there. I'm sure some of you who do very, very in-depth bushcraft have maybe found purposes for that. And again, I could see it in an end-of-the-world apocalypse situation, but I mean, I carry multi-tools with me, I do other stuff, and that's just what I would do 9 out of 10 times. But it is a nice little kind of extra bonus feature, if you will, on the handle there. But fills out my hand, locks me in, and isn't creating hot spots for the design. So for competitive options, I thought I would bust out a classic, the SOG Seal Pup Elite. Man, we haven't talked about this blade in forever. But the serrated versions can still be scored for about $40. The Elite, which is the plain edge, and those, it has a couple other little features, is about $75. And again, these can be scored for as little as about 60, as high as about 80, depending on steel, basically. And you'll have to determine which model maybe makes the most sense. But it kind of just reminded me of that. I was like, oh yeah, let's just bring that up just for the heck of it. I mean, this is definitely more aggressive. I would say if you were to ask me about like woods crafting, which one I'd probably prefer, I'd probably go with the URSA, or with the URSA, major. But if you're looking for like maybe a more field knife, combat utility, you know, there's definitely the SOG is still out there, still be able to be gotten. But really, when we look at what KIZER is performing with this, or producing with multiple steels, again, one of the best Kydex sheaths I've seen in quite a while. Please, manufacturers, pay attention. Let's start seeing more of this. So good. I mean, man, if you're on a budget, or maybe you're building out multiple kits and you're looking for this kind of like well-rounded, not a bushcraft knife, not a straight up tactical blade, but this kind of like in between, dude, I mean, from what I'm seeing here, this would definitely hold up to a lot of different abuse, and gives you a lot to work with for those go bags, or just you're looking for a belt knife to pair up and you don't want a boring bushcraft knife. You want something with a little flair. Definitely should be on the radar. So that's me and my mileage, but I want to know from you guys, what's your thoughts, what's your take, and whether or not the URSA Major makes sense for you. Especially a lot of you has been asking me about it in the comments. When are you going to get around to it? I want to know. So let me know if you picked one up. How has it been performing for you? Always appreciate that feedback. Till next time, recommend other blades you want to see tested out here on the channel, and I'll do my best to get my hands on them. Always appreciate your guys' recommendations and feedback, and check out the other videos, subscribe, and always remember, stay equipped, stay prepared, and I'll see you out there.